Welcome to ABR TV. I'm Ashley Brown, your host for this, our second installment of our preseason basketball preview. We've got four that we're going to take a look at, different things throughout the area in high school basketball, focusing mostly on the boys' side, and we've got some great players that we're going to be featuring each week. Last week, we took a look at our third-team preseason all-area squad. We also took a look at the top 10 rankings from our two experts on our panel. I'll introduce those guys now. First, to my left, we've got Chad Cook, former college basketball player at South Carolina State and Augusta State. Chad, a terrific shooter back in his day and now coaches the Augusta Eagles, and also, of course, is heavily involved in many facets with AugustaBasketball.com, Player360.org. Chad, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Congratulations on remembering the websites, because there's more and more all the time.
They are. Well, that's the way this works, these affiliations, no doubt. I'm getting better because I've screwed up many times in the past. But Chad Cook is with us, of course. And also, to my right, we've got one of the premier shooters to ever lace him up in the CSRA. Played at Duke, first-round draft pick of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and a longtime player professionally overseas after a 3-year stint in the NBA, Will Avery. Will, how are you, buddy?
Good, man. Good.
Still shooting? He looks like
always.
You guys look like you could still go play. I mean, this is really disgusting coming in here, especially Will. Both of you, though, look like you could still go play. You guys ready for another jam-packed show? Got a lot to talk about, a lot to get to, and we're going to start things off right off. Last week I mentioned that we covered the third-team all-area. We jumped right into the second team, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you folks out there watching, the first team must be awfully good because the second team is pretty darn talented. And we're going to start things off talking with Will about one of the guys on our second team. Will?
Yeah, first off, we're going to start with Darius Williams at Josie High School, sophomore, extremely talented guard. This guy can really fill it up. He's an explosive athlete. I think the best is yet to come. With the transferring of Kyle Doyle, he'll get a chance to be the guy on the team. So he should really, he's going to have some big nights at Josie. Josie is down to AA. I look for him to really get it going in the points per game column and lead Josie and put him on his back.
Yeah, he's somebody you told me about last year. I was talking about Reggie Reed, and you said, yeah, keep an eye on another freshman, Darius Williams. And I told you, the first time I saw him play, he goes baseline and dunks it. And I went, wait a second, he's a freshman guard. What's he doing?
Well, it's funny, Ashley. You mentioned Reggie and Darius on Facebook. In between our last show and this show, there was some chatter and somebody, Reggie or Darius would kill Reggie or something.
Yeah.
So
if he played here,
a little back and forth, and so it's exciting already.
That's good. That's what we're here to do. Create a little talk before the season. Now, our second guy is somebody you know very well. You coached him, but he's certainly deserving of these honors. He's put up eye-popping numbers, and he's proven in the summer that he can play with anybody. And we're talking about Matt Miller.
Yes, Matt is he's like 6'2.5", 6'3", pure shooter, I'd say. Very tough kid, strong, gets to the basket as you see here, and this is fall league play. But he can absolutely shoot the ball. He's very tough. And he's also just a great kid. Matt has a 3.9 GPA. He scored 1350 on 2 parts SAT. He's just the all-around student athlete that everybody would be excited about watching and coaching and knowing.
He's one of those slick lefties, right, Will?
And I would love to have this guy on my team. He really plays hard, and he's a team guy.
He's doing a little recruiting right here in front of
I didn't know you were starting a team, though.
If I can get a 5 Matt Millers, I may think about it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's go to our third guy, and it's somebody we've already talked about a lot on this show, but he deserves it. Last year, he had a monster freshman year. Reggie Reed, a point guard out of Harlem.
Yeah, Reggie Reed is just phenomenal. I've had a chance to see him when he was very young as an 8th grader and a 7th grader. And every year he just continues to get better, and he continues to impress me with the things he does. But, I'll let Chad elaborate even a little more. He had a chance to see him this summer on an elite, level of AAU scenes.
Yeah. Reggie, old friend of ours, we mentioned him last week in our episode, but Ricky Moore, old teammate of yours, I showed him, I was navigating through our website with him, showing him different things, and Reggie popped up, and he said, wow, that's that kid from Harlem you're talking about? That kid's big, And so he's athletic, he's put on some muscle in the offseason. I believe his shot has improved. And he just dynamite point guard.
Yeah, gonna be a good one, and well, already is. Well, let's go to our fourth guy, and we go back to Will. And a lot of times when we talk about this, it's funny, we recognize the last names because either their dad played or their dad coached. Well, this guy's dad did both. He was a great player in his day at Glen Hills, and now he's the head coach there. I'm talking about Aubrey McCray, of dad, of course, Travis McCray.
The first word that comes to mind with Aubrey McCray is score. You know, and I've known him, like you said, his dad played, so he's been around the gym since he was like 4 or 5 years old. But I had a chance to see him a couple of weeks ago in the Fall Cup, and he was really getting to the basket, knocking down shots from outside. He does a good job of drawing fouls and getting to the line. Aubrey's going to be in a position where, you know, I think Glen Hills will go as far as Aubrey takes them. You know, he's the leader now. He's a junior, a young junior, but I think he's garnered the respect of his teammates, and he's going to be the guy, and I think he's ready to fill that role.
And they've got a junior class that's just about everybody they play this year that gets on the lineup or gets on the floor is going to be juniors. They've got 6 or 7 juniors that play a lot at Glen Hills.
Yeah, and one thing, I'm sorry to interrupt, Ashley, but Aubrey, he was not only just at the Fall Cup, but he was in some of our skill work last few weeks. And what I noticed about him, like Will, have known him for about a decade, and all of a sudden now he's dunking the ball with ease. I mean, he's grown up physically. He's a very young junior. Will, is he still 15?
Maybe.
Yeah, he's either just turned 16 or still 15 as a junior. And so that's always meant he's been, you know, kind of a boy. And now he's becoming a young man physically, and he's always had the skills. So I really look forward to seeing him as well.
And I think he's going to be a late bloomer. He has that body type where he can add weight. He's long. You know, I think once he gets in college and, you know, basketball basically becomes your job in college, I think he's going to really turn into a really good player.
All right, well, the 5th and final player on our second team, again, that's our second team, all preseason squad for the area. The last is TJ Shepard, a kid I don't know as much about from North Augusta.
Yeah, TJ spent his first couple years at Fox Creek and then played last year as a junior at North Augusta. Very athletic, left-hander. I mean, he's just a spark plug. You see him in these highlights getting to the basket, and that's what he does so well. He gets to the basket and finishes. But he can also knock down the deep shot, the mid-range shot. He's, you know, he's kind of a shoot first. Doesn't always make the best decision, but he can really get after it. And we saw him, Will, in that Fall Cup, you know, put some oohs and ahs into the crowd, catching a couple off the rim and things like that. I
love the way he attacks the basket.
Yeah, absolutely. Aggressive player. Like to see that aggression. All right, Chad, we've been talking a lot about Player 360 and player360.org. For those that are new, and this may be the first time they're catching the show, what is Player 360? And also, I know you guys have a big event you want to talk about.
Yeah, player360.org is the second of our websites, and we basically are putting things onto that website that aren't maybe the top level elite basketball. So we have middle school basketball there. We even put some softball content out there earlier. And so right now the Columbia County Middle School season has started, and we've been covering all the Columbia County Middle School games. We have up there on the screen right now the Stallings Island versus Harlem game. Barn burner, Ashley and Will, 71-65 in 24 minutes in overtime. And a kid, Harrison Brown, for Stallings Island scored 35, and a kid for Harlem scored 34. So fun stuff there. And next weekend, November 10th, we are hosting the Player 360 Invitational. We have somewhere between 8 and 12 boys teams and 4 girls teams. It'll be hosted at Columbia Middle School and Lakeside Middle School. All the kids who join in are going to get free T-shirts. They're going to get free entry into Will's Christmas camp, the Will Avery Christmas camp. So we're very excited to be out in the community even more, teaching the game of basketball even more, and spreading the word about people who are playing that game even more.
35 and 34. I mean, I averaged like 10 or 11 in middle school. I was the leading scorer on my team. Will?
Actually, when I saw the write-up on Player 360, and I had the luxury. My daughter was playing Harlem on Thursday. So I drove early to see the boys game because I wanted to see this kid that got 34. You know what I mean? So that's really filling it up.
That's great seeing. It's good to see the young guys and girls getting a little attention as well. And speaking of getting attention, one thing we do each week as we bring you our preview shows is we like to nominate or show you one of the nominees for the Player 360 Player of the Year. Now, this does not entail just their ability on the court. It's classroom and other things as well, right, Chad?
Exactly. We kind of three components: what you do on the court, what you do in the classroom, and the kind of person that you are, as explained by your coach, your teachers, people in the community. So our nominee this week is Connor Segrist out of Greenbrier High School. He's a senior, 6'7", very good shooter. But Will's going to explain his game in a second, but I'll talk about his academic record. 3.8 GPA. He got a 1050 in the two parts of his SAT combined. He's looking at schools like Emory, Berry College, Piedmont, and a couple more. I want to say maybe Birmingham Southern. Connor, I apologize if I got that wrong, but very good academic schools, and he's got a very good academic record, and he's a great young man. Will has experience after coaching him in the Fall League, so you take it from here, Will.
First of all, he doesn't get a lot of credit as a player because being 6'7" and the tallest guy on his team, people expect him to be a banger. That's not his skill set. He's similar, very similar to the guy Ryan Anderson that was in Orlando last year and who's in New Orleans now. He's a stretch four. You know, I would love to see the success Connor would have in playing with a 5, you know, playing with a guy, a banger that you can throw the ball where he can kind of just sit out there and knock down shots because he has a great touch. And when motivated, he can be a very good offensive rebounder. I think he's a very attractive kid for a D2 or D3 school, and somebody's going to get not just a good player, but like Chad described, a great kid with great character.
He's one of those guys, I think, with a high ceiling that really is just scratching the surface maybe on
Exactly.
what he can be. Because he was 6'5" last year, and he's already 6'7". He's growing, you know, an inch like every 6 months, it seems like. So a kid with a lot of potential, no doubt about it. That's Connor Segrist, our Player 360 Player of the Week, our Player of the Year nominee for this week. Now it's time on ABR TV for a segment I think you're going to really enjoy. It's called Workouts with Will and Chad, and this is a situation where we have these guys go out and actually work out a kid, and you might even see footage from them in a game like we did last week with Frank Booker, utilizing some of the things that these guys are teaching them. So I guess let's get started. What's the topic this week?
Well, last week was great. We heard Kevin Garnett's advice to Will when he first came into the NBA. This week we'll talk about something that I'm pretty passionate about: working out on your own. When guys, the great thing about basketball, the sport, is you need a ball and a hoop. Sometimes you don't even need a hoop. But working out on your own is, there's an art to it. So what we have here is a drill that I like to do. I totally made it up one day. You have a chair, you have 2 basketballs, and you put one basketball down, and then you go and score off the dribble. Then you pick the other one up out of the chair and score off of the triple threat or off the pass. And I always tell my players that basically there's 3 ways to work on being a better scorer. You can catch and shoot, or you can score off the dribble. And when you score off the dribble, it's either the live dribble where the ball's already bouncing, maybe you're in a transition situation, or it's off the catch. And that's what you see here is guys scoring off the live dribble and scoring off the catch. And you know, I believe in this stuff so much that as a high school basketball coach, you can ask my players, I'd say 95% of everything we do in all of our practices is catching and shooting, scoring off the dribble, and scoring off the dribble after catching the ball. And, you know, absolutely no running through plays, very little scrimmaging, because when we get out on the court in the game, that's, you know, we play so hard, and the guys get after it so much that I figure they need a rest during the interim time. Yeah. And so that skill work is something I believe in big time, and that's why I wanted to share it with the viewers.
If he's working on only shooting and catching and shooting, you'd probably want to play for him, right?
I know I would. Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Well, you know, and I got lots of it from Will. When Will came back from playing overseas a year or 2 ago, he took an hour with one of my players, Matt Miller, and ran him through a bunch of things that he had run through as a player over the years professionally. And I watched it, and I watched literally how quickly Matt picked it up and added to his game just off that 1 hour. And from that day on is when I picked up that philosophy. And so it's all about, in our workouts, it's all about getting better as a player And guys like to score.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
So if they can become better scorers, then I can make them play defense and block out. I can do that during the game.
It is funny how you're always looking to pick stuff up. And I remember back back when I was playing, Keenan Mann, Chuck Graham were some of the best players. But there was a kid named Ryan Smith at Hepzibah, and he did a little dribble move where kind of instead of a crossover, he kind of faked and went right.
Yeah.
And I remember watching him do that. Back then, that was kind of a new thing. I remember watching him do that, and man, every time I played pickup ball for like the next 3 months, I did it every time down, just trying to work on a new little move. I wasn't quite as quick as Ron doing it, but I still put it in my repertoire, so to speak. So, well, there you go. Will, anything to add on this? I know you're big on the individual workouts.
Yeah, when Chad did it, I told you, I said, this is great stuff, because a lot of kids use the excuses, I don't have nobody to go to the gym and rebound, and that's the perfect workout for you to get up by yourself and go work on your shooting off the dribble. And as you can see in the clip, the guys behind him had their hands on the knees, so it's a good conditioning workout as well.
Absolutely.
So it's good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have a workout with Will and Chad in each segment of ABR TV, so make sure you check them out. If you missed the first one, really good stuff with Frank Booker. You should go back and watch that one as well. Another thing we've got going on that we'd like to talk about is recruiting. Each week we're going to do a recruiting spotlight. These two guys scour the Southeast looking for the top players, and you've had a couple of events recently that have made it kind of easy. Talk about the Fall Cup.
That's right. The Fall Cup this past Saturday really featured some of the best talent in the Southeast. So, the Southern Stampede, we've talked about them, I think, last week. They're probably the premier AAU team in the country coming back in that junior class this year. So guys like Ahmed Hill, JT Gant, even guys like Jared Coleman and Michael Scott are all Division I guys in a year or two, some the highest level of Division I. And then there's other players that were featured as well. So let's take them one by one. I'll start with Ahmed Hill. He, you just can't say enough good things about this guy. He's 6'4". He's extremely athletic, and then I say he's as close to being a pure shooter as you can be without being one. So
he's so athletic, you don't call him a pure shooter. If he was left athletic, people would call him a pure
exactly
shooter.
What's happening.
Yeah, one thing I tell people is if he was 5'11" and slow, he would still be on the court, contributing very well because he can absolutely drill it. And now. And I talked to him before the game, interviewed him on air, and his coach tells me this too. He's working extremely hard in the off season to develop his game off the dribble, and I saw that Saturday. Usually, if you can contain him and keep him out of the open court and keeping him from catching and shooting, you'll do okay. But that didn't work Saturday. Did you notice that as well, Will?
Exactly. And he does his damage in 3 dribbles or less, so it's very hard after he beats you for the help to get over there. And I don't know if you really want to get over there with the athleticism once he gets by with a head of steam.
Yeah, you might get picked on because you might be posterized
for sure.
at any moment. Who were some of the other players, or maybe a player that stood out to you, Will?
JT Gant.
Speaking of posterized.
JT Gant. This guy, and the first word that comes to my mind is raw. But usually when you say raw, the guy really can't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
This guy still can dominate the game on either end. I mean, I saw this guy just finish above the rim, just time after time, block shots. Then against a smaller Duke team in the Fall Cup finale, he went to the post, right-hand hook. He has the highest ceiling of any kid that we discussed so far. Yeah. And with his length and athleticism, I look for him to really dominate the game defensively.
I saw him as an 8th grader and knew he was good and all that. But then his freshman year, he was at Effingham County, and I read a write-up when they played Greenbrier, and he had 17 points, 15 rebounds, and like 12 blocks. And I went, wait a second, this got to be a misprint. But no, he's just steadily getting better and better. This kid, and Chad, am I right? Just about everybody in the ACC, SEC are looking at this kid.
Yeah, we checked it right before the show, and he's gotten offers from Georgia, Georgia Tech, and Clemson. And I think that's just the start.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say is, he plays at Effingham County down in the Savannah area.
Yeah.
And I saw him play against Evans last year, and he put a few highlights up. Definitely was a highlight-worthy game. But it wasn't like a dominating game by him. And Saturday in a Fall Cup, more of an off-season atmosphere, he was mean. He was competitive. He was getting after people. And so I really look for him to step his game up big time this year at Effingham County.
And he even knocked down a few threes. You know.
Yeah, I saw him with a little touch from the outside. That's the progression in his game. Anybody else that we need to talk about?
I'll go back to one of my players. Will gave him a lot of praise last week, and in that first game, Austin Crown from the Greater Augusta Independent Schools, my team. It was interesting with him because Michael Scott from Aquinas was guarding him, and Meat, we call him Michael Meat. He gives everybody troubles away from the basket, and Austin really handled that well, as you see here, getting to the basket with the left hand, finishing over the 6'10" guy. So he was very impressive, as he has been all fall league. And then while I'm on Michael Scott and point guards, he at Aquinas, Ahmed Hill's running mate. I was impressed with him as well. You kind of get, when you see Michael in AAU, the highest level of AAU ball, you see him in a more controlled atmosphere playing a role. You get him into a more of a high school setting, which is where we were Saturday, and it's fun to watch him because he can really let loose. And
yeah, he's a crowd favorite. He's a little guy, but man, I remember that 8th grade All-Star game thing he played in. A colleague of mine, Matt Lane, I didn't get to be at the middle school game, and I called him and checked on the game, and he said, "Man, this Michael Scott kid, y'all weren't lying. This kid's unbelievable." Right. And he's just kept getting, kept doing that time and time again, proving himself.
He had him on skates, didn't he?
He did all day, and the defensive pressure he applies he just really gets after the opposing guard.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. I didn't play a lot of defense. I learned defense when I got to college. I didn't worry about defense that much in high school. Who are some of the other standout recruitable players that you guys have seen lately?
One of the guys that really jumped out to me was Rayshawn Taylor at Westside. He's a junior guard with great size. He was scoring from all over the floor, three-pointers, using his size. With one of the things that, as you can see him going against Michael Scott, he made that shot like 4 or 5 times during that game where he just would get to the free throw line and use his size to jump over him and shoot the ball and knock it down consistently. He made step-back jump shots. He got to the basket, and he competed, him and his counterpart, Frank Booker, they really did a good job of competing with this other team full of D1 guys.
Yeah, that's going to be so big for him this year playing with Frank Booker because so many schools are going to be coming in to look at Frank, and then Taylor's going to benefit from that, no doubt, right?
Yeah. And everybody knows who have been following us that I thought the world of Ronald Campbell, who graduated from Westside, but I think Rayshawn is going to bring more to the table, especially over a 2-year period, but even this year than even Ronald brought, who I love. I love Ronald to death, but I'm really high on Rayshawn as well. And then I'd love to get a word in about Jared Coleman out of Greenwood High School. Jared Coleman is a junior, pure shooter. We talk about how Frank shoots the ball. Jared is in that same kind of class as far as catching and shooting and being deadly from beyond the arc. And I love about Jared is that he's being recruited by schools like Harvard. Great academic record, great kid. His father actually referees in the Peach Belt, so he's a very visible guy, and so I like Jared a lot too. And then Will, somebody caught your eye, caught both of our eyes, and made us really sit up and take note about South Aiken as a team. We want to tell the viewers about Jordan Dingle?
Jordan Dingle, first time really getting a chance to see him up close. Heard good things about him. Really strong, athletic point guard. He has a great mid-range game. People probably didn't hear a lot about him. South Aiken didn't have a great year last year, but he really impressed me in the Fall Cup with his ability to lead his team, defend, and really take advantage of his size with smaller guards on the defensive end. And, just to continue, use his quickness to pull up in that lane and make shots. At this level, a lot of guards who are fast, they get into the lane too deep at times and get stuck and don't know what to do and turn the ball over. He really knows his game and does a good job of getting to that mid-range area and just elevating over opposing guards, knocking down shots.
So if you're looking for a sleeper this year, then Dingle might be the guy out of South Aiken.
Yeah, not just Dingle, but South Aiken.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with, because there were other players there from that team as well that impressed.
All right, well, that's our recruiting spotlight. And, of course, each week we're going to have a recruiting spotlight where we cover some of the top guys and that are being recruited, not just the D1 monster recruits, but some of the guys that are being recruited on the D2 and D3 level and by the junior colleges as well. Now it's time to talk about, we got a great event coming up Hoops for Hunger. Chad, tell us about Hoops for Hunger.
Yeah, Hoops for Hunger is something that Will put together, and we're very excited about. It's an extension of what we've done on Saturdays during the fall at Evans High School. It's free skill work. We're going to focus on the fundamentals of the game: shooting, dribbling, getting your shot off the dribble, passing, and just like during the Saturday sessions, guys like Will and myself, Keenan Mann, Buck Harris. I'm not locking those guys in. It's for sure volunteering, but guys like that will be there.
Well, they seem to show up when the gym's open and kids are in there, though. It seems like they're willing to help out.
Yeah, I mean, great guys,
Yeah.
and those guys played at Augusta State. Keenan's one of the finest players of all time as a Jaguar. Buck played there, and he's been, he's in my opinion the best basketball coach around. And we're honored to have those guys contributing. Also, guys like Adam Miller and Keith Harrison. And so that's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Evans Middle School, November 17th. And the price of admission is 10 canned goods.
Yeah, no cash, just canned goods for this one.
And everybody gets a free T-shirt and 4 hours of top-level instruction. And then we'll tell everybody what we're going to do with the canned goods.
Yeah, this is going to support a great cause. We're going to have the Hoops for Hunger food drive in my neighborhood where I grew up on the Hill.
Yeah.
And, we're going to feed people, the less fortunate people that maybe don't have a family to eat with on Thanksgiving morning from 9 to 11. That's where all these canned goods will go. And it's going to be a great day.
So it's staying here locally to help out folks in this area. Well, before we wrap things up and get out of here for the show, let's take a look. We've got some teams dropping down to AA that are going to put some fear in some other coaches around the state. We've got some AA teams in this area that are going to be awfully good.
Yeah, I'm excited about AA because Laney, as we all know, Laney won the state championship last year in AA. Mm-hmm. And they were the only local team in that classification. And we've talked about it. A lot of Laney's success is attributable to their, not just their talent, but what their coaching staff gets out of that talent. But where I'm going with this is schools like Westside, Josie, they have every bit, I would say, the talent level. So there's no reason that they, with some hard work, can't challenge for a state title. So that's 3 local teams that I think will compete at a very high level statewide. And then there's a sleeper in there with Harlem High School. But Will, you agreed with me last week that Westside was maybe a step ahead of Laney. You had Josie in your top 10. What do you see for Class 2A ball?
Well, I definitely think Westside's ahead of Laney right now with Frank Booker and the maturity level of Rayshawn Taylor at this point. I think he's ready to step in right now and play. With Laney, they have so many young guys, but I'm going to go with Laney to win that region and go deep. This is why. Laney has some young guys that were on that bench that made those trips, that went through the sleeping in the gym and things like that. So they tasted, and they know what it takes to get there to win it. And January 21st in the MLK Classic at Evans High School, Laney plays Aquinas. If Laney can win that game, that's going to give them a big confidence booster going into region play. And I just think Laney, with their depth, they're young, but they're deeper than Westside, that if they can win that game, that's going to play a vital role in them going deep into the state playoffs.
Yeah, and think of some of the matchups there. Everybody's going to play each other twice. All the games will matter when it comes to seeding for region tournament play. And Laney and Josie do not have to be in the same region for that to be a big game.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big game, period.
Anyway,
now you put more meaning into it. Just this summer, for instance, I was refereeing a summer, scrimmage, and it was Laney and Josie, and we talked about Darius Williams earlier, and he got loose at the beginning of the game on the break, and he dunked over this kid from Josie, and he was from Laney. Yeah. He was fired up.
Yeah.
I mean, this meant something in the summertime, so it's going to mean a lot in the wintertime. And a team like Josie that has a lot of good athletes, that has Darius and some other players like that, they can beat Laney on any night. They can beat Westside on any night. And by that logic, who's to say Harlem can't compete at that level with a guy like Reggie Reed as well?
I tell you what, one thing we know, any team that comes out of that region is going to be prepared for whatever they see in the state. So it's definitely going to prepare those teams. Well, guys, thanks for all the I'd say hard work. I know y'all enjoy it so much, but man, tons of info, very informative tonight. I think any basketball fan out there watching got a lot of what they're looking for in the show. And of course, this is just the second installment. We're going to be right back with another one, so make sure you keep looking for us right here at ABR TV. I want to thank Will Avery and Chad Cook, and most importantly, want to thank you. Keep watching. Send us your feedback as well. We certainly appreciate it. Again, thanks for being with us here on ABR TV.